Are you ready to take control of your wealth and design the life you envision for yourself and your family? Welcome to Wealth of Insight with Austyn Whittenburg from Whittenburg Wealth Partners. Austyn guides you through the entire planning process to help you build a plan that seeks to protect your financial future. He empowers you with creative investment opportunities and planning ideas to help you understand and achieve your long-term goals. It's time to gain confidence in your financial future. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the Wealth of Insight podcast. I'm your host, Austyn Whittenburg. Today, I'm joined by a great friend, Jon Fuller, and we've been friends here for a while now, and he is a health, wellness, and personal development coach with Health Revolution. I wanted to have him on here as we get in towards the end of the year, the holidays, and health is on everybody's mind as the treats start to stack up. So thought it made sense to have Jon join us this morning and, help us work through the last few months of the year and, into the new year with healthy habits. Thanks for joining us, Jon.
Oh, thanks for having me, Austyn, dude. I love being here with you.
Before we get into some of the topics today, I thought I'd just give you 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it takes to talk about how you got into this space and some of the changes you made, that are the things we're going to talk about today.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So, really, my whole life, I've been an active individual, worked out, played a lot of sports, all those kind of things. When I got married, as a lot of people do, my wife got pregnant and I got pregnant with her.
Oh, yep. Ditto.
So you start putting on weight. And after we had our fourth son, my wife and I looked at each other. We're like, we're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're tired of feeling, the pains and the aches. And, I was having some random, chest pains and things like that I didn't want to talk to her about. And of course, the stress piles up and all of these things come together. And we just looked at each other like, we have to do something different. And so we actually got to coach ourselves. And I ended up losing 40 pounds. She lost almost 40 pounds. And we did it in a relatively short amount of time. For me, I did it in 3 months. She did it in about 3.5 months, which blows people's minds. But we did it healthy. We did it the right way. But more importantly is it was different than in the past, because in the past we'd done stuff to diet and lose weight. But this time we really learned how to not just lose weight, but we learned how to shift our mindset and what to do to keep it off. And so as we got involved in that process of really learning how to be healthier, we're like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And we always had a passion for health and wellness. But I think that was kind of the tipping point for us to say, you know what, we need to pay it forward. We need to help other people. There's a lot of people that are struggling right now. There's a lot of people that wake up every single day with the grind of life. And you add on top of that the frustration of the poor health. And you have literally a recipe for disaster. You have a lot of people that are wanting to increase their wealth, increase their health, and they just don't know what to do. And I love that you do this podcast because you're helping people with the wealth side. And I love that. And for me, I'm like, dude, I love this opportunity to come in and say, hey, how can we help your health also increase your wealth as you're putting the two together? So,
yeah, they really go hand in hand. And it's been really interesting, as we're working with clients, we have some clients really of significant wealth who are of poor health. And so the wealth is meaningless, right? Because they can't, the health really controls everything. So it really is a blend. And as we're working with clients, we want to make sure they're not only financially healthy, but physically healthy, mentally healthy, et cetera, right? They really all tie in together. And, prior to knowing you, I don't, it's been, 5 or 6 years now. I think that we've sort of known each other. I was the historical yo-yo, right?
Up, down.
Yeah, I can starve myself for 30 days if you need me to, but in the end of the day, it never really helped. So let's hop into it then. Because as I mentioned, in the intro, the holidays are coming up. We chatted before we started recording here. I think they say the average American is gaining 2 to 3 pounds. You mentioned, even up to 10 pounds, right? Between Halloween and the end of the year. So I think our goal today is if we can prevent people from doing that, and getting on the right track into 2023, then we'll have succeeded today.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it.
As you're gearing up for the end of the year and thinking, I'm a sweet tooth. I love anything candies like Skittles. I think they're banned in Europe, but I love them.
Who doesn't love a good Skittle, right?
Right. as you're gearing up for the end of the year, as someone who's been through this before and made that change, how does your mindset, what are you thinking about going into this year, and how to make sure you aren't one of those people who maybe gains 10 pounds?
I love that. I think that the biggest thing that I see for people is they go into this season not planning, not prepared. And when you're not prepared going into something, what happens? Worst case scenario typically happens, right? Because as the old saying goes, right? And I'm sure everybody's heard it. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. So what we want to do here is we really want to help give you some tools to help you out for this time of year. So the first thing is put a plan together for yourself. All right, it's the holidays coming up. What are some things that I can do to be ready? Well, you know that Halloween's coming, and you know that there's going to be things that happen. So I'm going to throw something in here. You and I've talked about this a ton of times, but it's the power of choice over cheat. And so this is kind of the first thing I want to talk about for a few minutes. When we choose to do something, we empower ourselves. We give ourselves strength and energy to go about making better decisions in the long run. When we cheat and do something, there's guilt, there's shame, there's frustration. Now, the funniest thing about this doesn't just apply to food. It applies to all things of life. But let's talk about specifically food here at first. So we come up on the holidays and we're like, okay, it's, Halloween's this weekend and the treats start, you buy the treats and they start piling up and you're like, well, I'm just going to have one. And then you eat one and then you have five. And before you know it, you're like,
one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. Right.
Yeah. And before you know it, you're tons of treats in, and then you're like, oh, forget about it. It doesn't matter. I'll just have this weekend, and then come Monday, I'll do better. And really, that's where a lot of people think. They're like, just go crazy. And when the guilt creeps in, it's like, I've already messed up. I've already had this. Why don't I just have more? And so when it comes to, let's look at Halloween, right? You say to yourself going in, all right, I'm going to have some treats. You choose that. But this is how many treats I'm going to have. And I'm okay only having this many treats. Physiologically, our bodies respond differently if it's a choice versus a cheat. When we choose it, we could literally have the exact same thing. We could have a bag of Skittles, right? And if you have the bag of Skittles and you own it and you're like, I'm eating the bag of Skittles, you actually gain strength. You're good. You're done. But if you're like, oh, I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to have anything. It's going to be Halloween. I'm not going to have anything. And then you're like, boom, you eat the Skittles. And then you're like, it's disaster, right? I already had the one bag. Let me have the two. Let me have the three. I'll throw in the Twix, the Kit Kat, whatever, right? Before you know it, you've literally had tons and tons of things.
Yeah. So many people, it's that, they think that health is just not eating whatever it is, right?
Right. Yes.
Is removing things from your life, as opposed to, like you mentioned, planning and preparing. And, I know for me, part of my plan is always have a protein bar or something in my pocket, right? So that if I get those hunger or that craving, I hit the protein bar first so that I only eat one bag of Skittles instead of 7, right?
And I love
it's
that.
Just having that. That's been a change I've had to make sure that, and again, the choice versus the cheat, as opposed to, I had one bag of Skittles. Let me have a whole pizza now instead.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? You're like, how does it go from a bag of Skittles to a pizza? But it does for so many people. And that's why the weight goes on this time of year. So if you plan and you say, look, I'm going to use the power of choice during this time. I'm going to choose what I'm going to eat. And I'm going to allow myself to have this. And then if you're faced with it, I mean, we talk about this too. It's like stop, challenge, and choose. You're choosing. You have this opportunity presented to you. Stop. You say, what am I going to? Okay. Weigh it out. Take a half second, slow down, weigh it out, and then make the choice. And if you choose to have the treat, own it and move on and just let it go. And physiologically, your body will respond completely different. When we cheat, the cortisol levels in our body spike. Our body really does actually start hanging on to the crap that, we put into it versus letting it go. And so as you come into the season with a plan, you say, okay, it's Halloween. This is what I'm going to do. Right. And you do that and trust yourself enough to do that. You're not saying I'm not having anything. You're saying, yeah, I'm going to have some, but I'm going to make sure and reserve it for the right things. Right. And then Thanksgiving rolls around. You guys, I don't boggles my mind with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a healthy meal if we want it to be. There's lean protein. There's lots of veggies. I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving for me, we had veggies everywhere, right? I think that's the most veggies I would normally eat at any time was Thanksgiving. But then there's also the pies. So then we like get past the first meal and we did all right, right? And then we're like, wait, I had my turkey coma, right? We wake up from the turkey coma to have 15 pieces of pie. It's like, why not set a plan as a family? Who needs 15 pieces of pie and ice cream, right?
Well, I don't, no, I'm just kidding.
I know you are. But then we go and we say, hey, you know what? My favorite pie is grandma's pumpkin. I'm going to have a piece of grandma's pumpkin pie. I'm going to put some whipped cream on it, and I'm going to be okay with that. And it's really funny because I think, too, we tend to think that people are going to be disappointed if we don't have something else, right? They'll be like, oh, did you try Aunt Bertha's, I don't know, whatever pie, right? Apple pie. You could literally say, I've had Aunt Bertha's apple pie. The last 25 years of my life, I've had Aunt Bertha's apple pie. I don't need it this year. All I need is grandma's pumpkin pie. And so you don't have to, no one's going to be offended. No one's watching your plate. They're busy watching their own plate. And so this plan goes into effect. And I love what you said too, is balance your proteins with what you eat, right? If you do have some junk, eat some protein to go along with it. And people are like, are you crazy? That was the first trick I learned that kept me from gaining more weight. Actually, I would have gained even more weight had I not learned balanced carbs with protein. And people are like, what? What happens is the proteins kind of bond with the carbs and allow it to go through your system better. So it's not just hanging on, and it fills you up, and like lots of other things, as you know. So,
right.
And I hope that this makes sense, but it's like, come in with a plan, know what direction you want to head before. And I mean, you can do it at restaurants and everything. Pull up you're going to, I don't know, you're going to pick your favorite restaurant, fill in the blank, right? You look at the menu online before you go. And you don't have to eat all the other things. I challenge anyone that's listening to this to try this little secret. Next time you go out to lunch with a group, order a salad, and see how many other people order a salad.
Yeah,
because
peer
everyone
pressure.
will. Everyone will. But if the first person that orders gets the burger loaded with all the stuff, the fries and the big old drink and whatever else, everybody follows suit. So go be the first person, order the salad and see what happens. Just watch.
That is an interesting little challenge. I'm going to have to try that.
Try it. See what happens. You're like, but I really want the burger. Okay. But so these are kind of just a few of the things, right? Make those choices, make it be something that you own. And if you own it, your body physiologically responds different to it.
Yeah. I think that, that's an interesting point too, because again, your brain is really powerful. I probably don't need to tell people that, right? But just and having the right mindset and philosophy around all this can make all the difference in the world. And we're going to have a string of family parties all through the rest of the year, culminating with New Year's Eve, right? And that's about the time people think, oh, it's New Year's Eve. Oh, crap. Now I need to lose 10 pounds. So I'm going to make these resolutions today that I haven't really thought about before, right? And, everybody knows January is the busiest month at the gym. By the time February rolls around, you have the gym back to yourself, right?
Right.
So, but again, that just gets back to the mindset piece of things. So as you're working with your clients, or as you're thinking personally for resolutions you may set, right? That's sort of, I guess, the buzzword, but making those health goals, what are some tips we can give the people to have success as opposed to the traditional, I'm going to think about this New Year's Eve, but by January 31st, it's over, right? Because I cheated and so why even get back on track, right? Because I already cheated. So.
I love that. We use this analogy a lot. If you get a flat tire, do you go around and slash the other 3 tires?
Not typically. No, I would rather just fix my tire, I think.
Right. And that's the same thing with eating, right? It's like we had one thing that's random that would be considered by some a cheat, right? And then all of a sudden we're off. So do we go around and slash all the other tires? No. What do? We continue on in our progress. So I don't typically like setting a New Year's resolution for health. I say, set a goal for yourself today of where you would like to be And let's work towards that right now. If we're working towards it now, January comes along, you don't need to worry about the gym being packed because you're already in the middle of your routine. But if the gym's full and you're trying to add the gym to your routine in January, you'll get discouraged either A, because there's no room for you at the gym, or B, because you're like, I can't get my workout in, so I might as well just forget about it. And I love, don't get me wrong, I believe in goal setting 100%. But the strength comes when we're constantly doing things to improve ourselves. So this kind of ties into something else that I'm going to kind of bring in here if you're okay with it. But
absolutely.
We have computers. We update them all the time. We have phones. We update them all the time, right? We're constantly upgrading our software. Clients work with you and they're gaining knowledge and gaining experience that they never had before because they're trusting you and learning from you in areas that they weren't good at before. And that makes their financial situation better and better. But when it comes to health, this is the response I hear from lots of people. I already know what to do. I just need to do it. Okay, here's the hot tip, friends. If you already knew what to do, you would be doing it.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is shift that and say, what are some things I can do to reprogram my brain? And that's, I feel like a strength of having mentors and coaches and people that can help us is they allow us to look at things from a different perspective. They allow us to reprogram our brain in the right areas. Am I right? I mean, it's like, yeah, okay. Carb loading in sports in high school. Who invented this? It's not a sound.
You got to have energy for your marathon or whatever,
but
right?
It's not a sound nutritional practice, no matter how old you are, right? It's not really a thing, but that's like one of those misnomers that get passed around, right? I got a carb load. I got the big game tomorrow. No, you're going to bonk.
Yeah.
You are physically going to bonk because you just carb loaded, right? That's not how it works. So I just think it's important that we spend time studying, learning, growing. If it's listening to a podcast, if it's finding somebody on social media that you connect with. Look, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'm not going to say, hey, follow Jon. He's the only guy to listen to, right? Come on. That's not realistic.
Sure.
But find people that you connect with, find people that speak your language, and then go down that path for a while.
Yeah, really, again, we've known each other for a while and we've had these conversations, but I sort of had to come to the realization that health is sort of a mode of travel, not a destination, if that makes sense, right? My health, whether it's my health, you could tie that just to your weight directly or just health in general, honestly sort of looks like the stock market, right? There's ups and downs and sometimes there's really good times and peaks, right? It's this mode of travel and this mindset of it's okay. Again, I'm going to make the choice to eat these Skittles today, but I'm going to own it and I'm going to move on and I'm going to make it maybe an offsetting choice at some point in the future, right? But this mode of travel and having people in your life that you can have those conversations with, whether it's your spouse or your friends or, I think COVID, if it taught us one thing, is how social of creatures we really are, right? And having it, whether it's an online community or whatever, having people on that journey with you, knowing that it's a journey that's really never done, right? You might have certain goals you can hit, but you got to stay there. And that's my own personal experience with the yo-yo effect of my weight sort of is right in line with that. But just knowing that I don't need to lose 10 pounds in 1 week because that's not sustainable, but I just need to be making these healthy choices. This mode of travel over time will get me to where I want to be.
100%. And especially when we look at the New Year's resolutions, set some goals for yourself, but why aren't we setting goals every week, every day, every month, every year? Like, let's not wait till January to set some goals to make our lives better. Let's wake up today and say, you know what, what's one thing I can do today to be better? What if you woke up every day for your first week, you're like, okay, this week I'm going to drink more water because drinking water is healthy. So you drink 100 ounces of water. Well, I can promise you, if you're drinking over 100 ounces of water, you're going to have to use the restroom more. So you're going to be busier, right? You're just going to have to fit more things in less time, but you're also going to be less hungry because you're filling, you're drinking more, and it's going to start creating good habit patterns for you, habit loops, right? I don't know our kids are different ages, but in elementary school, they're starting to teach now growth versus fixed mindset. And I feel like this is such a powerful topic because that's like a catalyst to help us rewire our brains. I think so many people are stuck in this fixed mindset. I'm big boned. I've always been big, so I'm always going to be big. And you know what I mean? Like all of these things, I'm a foodie. I just like food. And it's like, okay, these are fixed mindset. And it's like, how can we shift this to a growth? How can we say, look, I'm going to take steps every single day to do something to just better myself. And if today I want to take control of my health in a sense that I'm going to live healthier, it's like, okay, what's one choice I can make today? If all you can do is one choice towards your health, okay, I'm drinking water. Second choice, all right, now I've got water down good. Next thing, I'm going to do 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups a day, right? I mean, it sounds small, but it's as we put these little habits into place and we practice them that we get better and better and better. And then when you get to that point where you're faced with the Skittles, you've got all this energy behind you because you're doing the little steps. You already made the plan. Yeah, I'm going to eat some Skittles today, but I only need 1 bag. I don't need 5 bags. And we're talking the fun size bags, right? We're not talking
of course. Yeah, 5 regular size bags. That'll put you down.
But all of these things then give us strength and we can believe in ourselves. And I love that you brought up a community because having like-minded people in finances, in life, in relationships, in our health, all of these areas make us stronger. If we're trying to do it on an island, it makes it really hard.
All right. Before we close up here, I just want to summarize then a few things that I learned and hopefully, for the other listeners out there. But the first and foremost, have a plan, right? We know you're going to these parties, into these situations. If you have a plan, that's going to prevent you from succumbing to the worst case scenario, as you mentioned, right? So have a plan, talk about it with people, get other people in your circle as part of this health journey. And then third would be having that growth mindset. And maybe a small twist, at least the way I interpret that is, as you were talking about making those little choices, the little choice wasn't to not do something, it was to do something else, right? So as opposed to thinking about, I got to cut all these things out, it's adding in all these positive things. And if you add in those positive things that, just get you mentally making positive decisions as opposed to that guilt and shame that sometimes come with those negative decisions. So that's what I learned today. Is there anything else you wanted to chat here before we close up?
I just think it's important to have fun with your health. Like you mentioned earlier, it's a journey. Every day we're going to be working on things to get better and better and better, right? Tony Robbins says this every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. And I know he got it from someone else and I can't remember where it came from, but I heard Tony Robbins say that. And I think about that all the time. It's like in the shower, I'll just be like, every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. And that encompasses all areas of our life. And as we just focus on, today I'm going to strive to be the best version of myself I can be. And if that's taken a little bit on my physical side, if it's taken a little bit on my relationships, a little bit with my finances, we're just going to get better today and really focus on the good, like you said, the positive that's going to come from it. If you focus on the negative, you get negative. You focus on the positive, you get positive.
Right.
So let's just focus on that fun, good, positive stuff.
Yeah. Back to the power of mindset there for sure. Well, Jon, thanks again for coming on here. Where can people follow you, find you if they have additional questions? I love it. Instagram, Healthy Johnny. You can find me on Instagram. You can on Facebook, Health Revolution. You can look up Health Revolution. I do this with my wife, actually. So she and I work together. My name's Jon Fuller. Her name's Kat Fuller. You can find our personal accounts on Facebook and on Facebook. Sorry. On Instagram, I am Healthy Johnny. So you won't find anything other than that. But yeah, thanks for having me today. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with you, my friend. Of course. And if you have any questions or would like to learn more, please check out our website at wittenbergwealth.com, or you can text me at 801-839-7056. Please remember to subscribe to the Wealth of Insight podcast and share with your friends and family.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth of Insight podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos Wealth Partners and Whittenburg Wealth Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Whittenburg Wealth Partners. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.